We're fearlessly talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to connect.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Wednesday night edition, Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. You know it's March when it's 11:43 Eastern time. We're going live. We're actually going to go live much earlier, and then this Kansas Central Florida game decided to go into overtime. So we are reacting in real time to this Kansas UCF game. We will also have a busy recap of just what I think is one of the funnest days of the year. I believe the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of Champ Week are maybe my favorite 3 days of the year. And boy, oh boy, do we got a lot to react to. We're going to open Arkansas. Well, we're going to open with Kansas, but Arkansas does get the big win against South Carolina. What a weird game. They were up, they were down, they're resilient. They find the way to get a victory. I think, listen, at this point, they're playing for seeding at the NCAA tournament. That is official. From there, we will talk a little about bubble, who's on, who's off, North Carolina, Baylor, some of the winners, Arkansas, Texas getting the big win. By the way, Oklahoma looks like they're going to close out Georgia. Producer Matt, do me a favor and just get in my ear when both the Kansas and Oklahoma-Georgia games go final. We'll also, some very interesting developments on the coaching carousel. Will Wade, can we eliminate a big-time school for Will Wade on a day that he wins another conference title? That remains to be seen. And also Indiana. You do not want to hear what Indiana might be doing in their coaching search. Are they going to botch this bad boy? They just might. It would be peak Indiana, and we're going to discuss all that. Before we get started, a couple quick reminders. One, make sure that you're subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. It's March. It's almost midnight Eastern. We're going live. This is what we're doing all March long, okay? We're going to have full episodes, reactions, clips, videos, recruiting, portal, NCAA tournament, so much. This is the place that you want to be. Make sure you're subscribed, put on the notifications. By the way, if you want to like that little video, really does help us get into the algorithm. And also make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast or to the YouTube channel. Also, subscribe to the podcast as well, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. Also, speaking of March, it is March, and you know what that means. We are working with one of our favorite partners, our friends, BetUS TV. Okay. So bottom line is it's that time of year. You're seeking information. You're seeking content. You need the world of college basketball covered, but you need pretty much everything. This is what you got to do. You got to go to BetUSTV.com for all of the late breaking news, information, intel that you need. They do a great job covering college hoops. My boy Corby does some stuff for them. Jeff Nadeau, who of course is an internet legend. But they cover everything. They got Major League Baseball as spring training ramps up. They got NBA, all that good stuff. And they're just a great partner. They took us last year to Phoenix on a ride to the national championship. We will be in San Antonio. You got to check them out, BetUSTV.com. We really do appreciate their support as, again, they are taking me and they're taking the Aaron Torres Pod to San Antonio. So thank you to BetUS TV. With that said, it is a busy Wednesday night. There is no more time to waste. So let's go ahead and get to the topic of the day. So first of all, listen, we got a couple games that are still going on. As I said, producer Matt will be in my ear so we can react. Kansas up by 2 in overtime as best I can tell. Also, Georgia, Oklahoma looks like it's about to go final in the final minute or so. So we'll keep you updated on just about everything. But where we have to start here on a busy Wednesday in college hoops, it is the SEC tournament. And I think the most interesting result of the day was at the SEC tournament in the opener, the team, the program, the school that we talk about oh so much here on the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. There is no avoiding them. It is the Arkansas Razorbacks. Okay, so listen, bottom line with Arkansas, listen, I've talked a lot about them, but to me, in my opinion, they were in the NCAA tournament coming into the SEC tournament this week, okay? So listen, there's a lot of different, first of all, there's a lot of just media outlets that cover bracketology and this and that and the other thing. But let's also call a spade a spade. There's some people maybe in the media that don't really like John Calipari, that maybe don't want to see him succeed. And so I'm not picking on anybody in specific, but you saw so many people, oh, if they don't beat South Carolina, are they on the outside looking in? Well, listen, I've said it all along, but going into the weekend, they had 5 quad one wins. Now, I'll be honest, by the way, the first South Carolina loss, that was bad. That was not good. But they beat Oklahoma. I believed once they beat Mississippi State that they are in. That was last Saturday. Well, I bring it up because there was some talk of just beat South Carolina, the 16 seed in the SEC tournament, and then you don't have to worry, okay? You beat South Carolina, you're in. If you lose to them, again, in my opinion, you're probably still in. But 1, it's a sweat from Wednesday till Selection Sunday. 2, you do pick up another quad 2 loss, and then 3, you're just setting yourself up for what happens with bid stealers, this and that. So it really wasn't so much about getting another win as it was avoiding a bad loss. And to their credit, the Arkansas Razorbacks, it was not always pretty, but they get the victory to open the SEC tournament. If you watch this game, it was quite an adventure, okay? Final score in Nashville, the SEC opener. Arkansas gets the win 72-68, okay? So first of all, wild game. And before we get to the not good stuff, let's get to the good stuff. I think you can argue the first half for Arkansas was maybe the best half of basketball that they have played all season long. 47 points in the first half. Remember, they just played South Carolina at South Carolina, put up 14 points in the first half. Well, I bring it up because they put up 47. They're cruising. Everything's going good. And you think they're going to cruise to a victory. Then the second half happens. And listen, I think there was a number of variables. There was an injury to Big Z. We'll get to it in a minute. There was some foul trouble. But Arkansas also did score there for about 8, 9, 10 minutes. And so it's crazy because Arkansas at one point, let me pull this up because I took some notes here. So Arkansas was up by 18. 59-41 at one point. South Carolina proceeds to go on a 19-2 run. They cut the lead to 61-60. I believe at some point they actually did take the lead. In the end, though, it does not matter because Arkansas finds a way to win. Again, 72-68 is the victory. Now, listen, I think a couple things here when I think about this game. First of all, it wasn't pretty in the second half. I don't think it was all on Arkansas. Listen, I'm not going to be the guy, blame the refs for everything, but it went from this fun, free-flowing game, Arkansas is playing well, to every little thing was called in the paint. Jonas Aidoo picked up, I believe, his third foul with 12, 13 minutes to go. They put him on the bench. He comes in, picks up another foul, very cheap. Trevin Brazil, do you remember, I think it was Big Z, came out of the game for one free throw, and then somebody picked up a foul, and they literally had to put him back in. And so the refereeing wasn't great. And then I think the other thing is exactly what I just said. Big Z has some sort of injury that and I see the chat already kind of talking about it, but I bring it up because Big Z goes to the bench. He's holding his wrist on one side, but then he's holding his thumb on the other. He does come in and makes 2 free throws. That was the only points that Arkansas scored for about an 8-9 minute stretch. But, you do wonder what his status is as we're recording here late Wednesday into Thursday as Arkansas gets set for the Ole Miss game on Thursday afternoon. I just bring it up because we don't know Big Z's status. But to me, let's just credit Arkansas, man. They keep finding ways to win. And I believe they're officially in the NCAA tournament. First of all, let me just say this. To me, I know we can't give Coach Cal credit for anything. But by the way, can we take half a second here? I need to get something off my chest, okay? So if you saw the end of the game, Arkansas goes up 3 with a Nelly Davis made free throw. He then appears to intentionally try to miss the free throw, basically, which is just strange because it would have given you a 4-point lead with 3 seconds to go. Jay Billis can't understand it. John Calipari, whatever. And I bring it up because after the game, John Calipari goes to the podium and he says, I told Nelly Davis to miss that free throw. Let me tell you this. I've been covering Coach Cal a long time. Coach Cal did not, because when Coach Cal says that, it immediately goes to the internet. Oh, he's the worst coach ever. He's the most overrated coach ever. He doesn't even understand simple mathematics. Listen, I've covered Coach Cal long enough to know he was covering for his player. He basically went to the podium and said, that's my bad, so his player didn't have to answer questions. If you just go back and watch the video, you'll see very clearly that he is freaking out in the background when Nelly Davis tried to miss that free throw on purpose. That was not a coaching decision. That was a player mistake. It happens. Arkansas survives. But at the same time, let me just say this. I truly believe what I said. They're one of the most resilient teams I've ever seen, okay? And we can go back to the preseason. They only brought on 9 real kind of playable players. They call them NIL players. In other words, players that are getting NIL plus scholarship. Everybody else is on scholarship, but they're not getting NIL, okay? And so you can blame the staff for doing that. I don't, because if you remember back to last year with Kentucky, Cal had too many guys by the end of the year. So some of the injury stuff is on the coaching staff. But the counter to that, Boogie Flan goes down, you play your best basketball. Adu Thero goes down. You think the season, you can't survive this season if he doesn't come back. Well, he hasn't come back. You lose to South Carolina. You then win at Vandy. You then take care of business against Mississippi State, and you then win this game. And so to me, you talk about resilience. It's the 0-5 to start SEC play, but it is also not just the 0-5 to start SEC play. It is everything that has happened with this team since. It's the resilience. It's the next guy stepping up. You know, to me, I actually, listen, I can be critical of Jay Billis at times, but he used a line that I really liked in this game. He says, sometimes you need to be needed. And what that means is there's guys on that team that kind of, they didn't know their role. How do they fit? How do they this? How do they that? And then all of a sudden, when a guy gets hurt, when somebody gets injured, you look up and it's like, oh, we actually need you. Trevin Brazil, you don't have time to think about and what happens if this, and I missed a shot and I'm putting my head. No, we need you to just play. And so you look at this team, and it's what I said. They keep finding ways to win. I remain so impressed with this team, and it's different guys stepping up every game. The last couple games, it has been Trevin Brazil. We just mentioned him. By the way, Trevin Brazil is crazy, man, because you watch these games, it's like this is a dude that in the SEC, Jimmy Dykes says this all the time, and he's right. It's the second most athletic league in basketball behind only the NBA. And Trevin Brazil, relative to the rest of the SEC, is like the biggest freak of an athlete. I think you could probably argue Adu Thero and Trevin Brazil are maybe the 2 best athletes in that league, which is insane to think about. I haven't really thought about it, but I think there's an argument there. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. But it's just like Trevin Brazil stepping up. You know, Billy Richmond has had moments defensively. Carter Knox has had moments defensively. DJ Wagner hits another big 3. I think we talked about it on Sunday's show. The idea that DJ Wagner has been one of the best guards in college basketball the last 7-8 games. Again, Boogie Flan goes down. There's no time to rotate. There's no time to think. There's no time to dwell. There's no time to whatever. And I love the way that DJ has stepped up. I love the way that DJ continues to play with confidence. I love the way that DJ continues to evolve and get better as the season goes on, okay? This is a guy, I was thinking about this, all the scorn that he took at this time last year at his previous school. Now he is one of the most reliable players that you can have in college basketball. He is a guy, 13 points, 6 assists in this game, that big 3-pointer, and it's been really fun to watch him develop. But I just give so much credit to this team. Truly respect everything that they've done. Truly respect the way that they've played themselves off the bubble. And there's nothing else to say other than that, like, man, oh man, oh man. I just don't know how you can't be excited about this team. And I'll tell you what, I know this is the cliche. Not the team that you want to face in the NCAA tournament. Like, I know that's the cliche talking point now, but I mean, if you can go on a run where in the last, 7 weeks, you beat Kentucky at Kentucky, you beat Missouri at home, you sweep Texas, you beat Mississippi State, you win at Vandy, that is an incredible run, and that is just a team that I do not want to see. So I'll tell you what, we're going to commercial break. Arkansas gets the win. By the way, here's my prediction. I think they beat Ole Miss on Thursday. I think, 1, it's a good matchup for them. But 2, every time you kind of think, okay, weird game, are they going to come out? No. They'll be good to go. I like them. I think they beat Ole Miss. And with that, 2 quick reminders. 1, you better be following our Torres on the Hogs page, Torres on the Hogs, because we're going to have wall-to-wall coverage of this SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament. Arkansas is officially in. And beyond that, as we get to commercial break, I just got one question for you, baby. Can anybody stop the Big Pig Invasion? That's right. Can anybody stop the Big Pig Invasion? Order your t-shirts now. Obviously, we will try to get them out as quickly as we can so you have them for next Thursday, Friday. Can anybody stop the Big Pig Invasion? You can get that at AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the bubble winners and losers. If you believe that Arkansas was on the bubble, they are officially off it. But what about North Carolina? What about Baylor? What about some of the teams that were on the bubble that are not anymore, or maybe just played themselves off the bubble altogether? We'll take a quick break. There's a lot to react to. By the way, a crazy twist in the Indiana coaching search. That's all next. Quick break. Be right back. What's up, everybody? It's AT, and listen, long day of podcasting. Sometimes don't always look the best. So look at this. It's a little bit not great, okay? Well, here is the great news. The great people at BOTCH said, Torres, you're a professional. You just got 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. You need to look better. And so they sent me a couple awesome things. I want to pull them out for you right now. This is all from the winter collection, by the way. Spring collection is coming out. We got the vest, very, very, very nice. The sweater, very professional for when I go to professional events. We got these nice blue jeans. I think the question now everybody's asking is, Torres, how do you actually look when you put that stuff on? Let's find out. Well, what do you think? Sweater fits perfectly. Great for all occasions. When I go to games, when I go out to a dinner, warm weather, cool weather, it's perfect. Speaking of perfect, these jeans are phenomenal. Great for games, great for social events. Oh, by the way, a little bit stretchy if those New Year's resolutions aren't going on as planned. Really quickly, we got to try out. Let's try out the vest. It fits perfectly, not a surprise. So here's the deal. If you want to look as good as Torres, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to FIOBOC.com. That's FIOBOC. FIOBOC.com. And here's the best part. For listeners to the Aaron Torres pod, you get 20% off with code Torres20 at checkout. We will also put a referral link in all of our YouTube videos. Thank you to FIOBOC. By the way, make sure you're following them on social media at FIOBOC. Thank you to FIOBOC. You want to look as good as Torres, check them out. Again, promo code Torres20 for 20% off. All right, everybody. I am back. Good to be back. So want to go ahead and get to the rest of a busy Wednesday in college hoops. But we are now what are we, about 6 days away, 5 days away from Selection Sunday. A week from now, we will have a bracket. A week from now, we'll have some playing games. So as you get ready for March, as you get ready for all of the big games that you are going to be watching over the next couple weeks, make sure you grab your March is for Day Drinking t-shirt, okay? This is the perfect t-shirt for you, your friends, your buddies, your this, your that. You're going to be drinking. You're going to be having a good time. You'll be watching games in a sports book, in a bar, in a whatever. Go ahead and get your March is for Day Drinking t-shirt, AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. All right, I'll tell you what. It is time. You know what it's time? Time to talk some bubble winners and losers, okay? By the way, we just had a bubble result go final. We'll get to in a minute. First bubble winner. Listen, well, let's just start with the team that we just wrapped on. I don't believe that the Arkansas Razorbacks were on the bubble coming into Wednesday. Listen, I certainly think had they lost the game to South Carolina, you're sweating a little bit going into Selection Sunday. Are you going to Dayton? What's going to happen with the bid stealing scenario? Could somebody weird win the Mountain West? Could somebody knock off Duke and win the ACC? Listen, I believe they were in the field. 5 quad one wins coming into the weekend. Then, oh, by the way, they pick up a 6th quad one win because Georgia became a quad one win at the time. We'll see if that changes as the results come in on Wednesday. But the resume is just too good. And now you beat South Carolina. You avoid the second loss to the last place team in the league. It would have been a quad 2 loss here on a neutral court. So Arkansas is in. At this point, they're playing for seeding. They play Ole Miss on Thursday. By the time many of you see this, that game may already be underway or go final. I actually do like Arkansas to win that game, but I just bring it up because they're in. They're playing for seeding. By the way, if they beat Ole Miss, they would have a game against Auburn, so that would be very interesting. Kind of an interesting setup there because That'd be a third game in 3 days. We don't know the status of Big Z, but I just bring it up because Arkansas, in my opinion, completely off the bubble. Listen, I respect all these teams, and I know stuff can happen. I just don't see the scenario that they're out. Let's keep it going on bubble winners. Let's stay in the SEC. Can't put what did Coach Cal say the other day? He said, everybody put us in a coffin. They didn't bring nails. You know who's in a coffin and it's nailed 80% of the way shut? It's the Texas Longhorns, man. Texas gets the win on Wednesday afternoon. They beat Vanderbilt. By the way, there's a conversation about Vanderbilt that we're going to have here in a second. But Texas gets the win. Texas finds a way to survive. Texas beats Vandy in the opening round of the SEC tournament. Listen, I'll be real. I still think Texas has a lot of work to do. Even with the win, we're talking about a team that is 18-14 overall. We're talking about a team that, listen, I understand that they played a ton of Q1 games between, the SEC. They also played, UConn at home. They played, whatever. They played Ohio State on a neutral. They played a ton of Q1 games. Doesn't change the fact that the problem with them is I just think the 14 losses is what sticks out, and 6-12 in SEC play. They had so many opportunities late. They lose at South Carolina. They get swept by Arkansas. They lose to Georgia. Listen, none of these losses individually are terrible, but you just lost too many games. So they're 18-14 now. They survive to face Texas A&M. You talk about an interesting matchup on Thursday at the SEC tournament. I still think even with a win over A&M, you're probably inching closer. I'm not sure you're there yet. Now, it'll be interesting because I do see Joe Lunardi has them as one of the first teams out. We will see if that changes. I think they got to keep winning because they're one. Even if they're on the right side of the bubble now, again, you're always risking that thing where what happens if, again, there's a surprise winner of the ACC, a surprise winner of the Mountain West, a surprise winner in the Big East. So Texas gets the win. I don't think they should feel too good yet. But they do get the victory. They survive another day. I think they got to beat Texas A&M to really feel like they're doing pretty good. By the way, we do have a final in Kansas City. The Kansas Jayhawks have beaten UCF in OT. So, by the way, that's good news if you're a bubble team because that is one less team you got to worry about. UCF is eliminated. Kansas advances to face Arizona in the second round of the Big 12 tournament. All right, let's keep it going. Let's stay in the SEC because another game that just went final that is huge for the bubble picture. The Oklahoma Sooners just beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, we'll talk about Georgia in a minute. I think Georgia is in. Oklahoma is hanging on by the skin of their teeth. And listen, I got to credit where it's due, man. What's crazy about the SEC is that every single time you think a team is just done, they find a way to get wins. We just talked about it with Texas, but Oklahoma is the same way. Remember, they had the last-second loss to Kentucky, then a last-second loss to Ole Miss. They then proceed to win their final 2 regular season games just to put them back on the bubble, beating Missouri and then winning at Texas to end the regular season. Well, they get the win over Georgia, and I think they're going to be an interesting team on Selection Sunday. Listen, I'm not always an advocate of these teams with all these losses getting into the NCAA tournament, but what's kind of crazy about them, they have some really good wins in the out-of-conference, as we've discussed. Beat Louisville on a neutral, beat Arizona on a neutral, beat Michigan on a neutral. And I know that those teams like Louisville and Arizona specifically were not as good then as they are now. Doesn't change the fact, in my opinion, the wins still count the same. And so for them, the thing that's holding them back, they do have a Q3 loss on their resume. I would assume, without looking too deep at their resume, I'm guessing that's maybe, I don't even know what that loss would be, to be perfectly honest. Maybe, they lost at home to LSU. Yeah, that'll do the trick. That's a Q3 loss there that could anchor things down. Oklahoma gets the win. But listen, 6-12 in the SEC, that is tough to overcome. They play Kentucky on Thursday in the final game at the SEC tournament. I think win and you're in, lose, I still think you got to feel pretty good about going to Dayton at the very least. By the way, remember, Oklahoma was one of the first 4 out last year. Imagine if it happened again. By the way, does anybody else remember when Seth Greenberg was a coach at Virginia Tech? And he was always like the first team out for like 6 straight years. And one time he started crying on TV. I'm just bringing it up because we're headed towards that way with Porter Moser. If they are in the first 4 out again this year, that'd be tough. But listen, they're 6-12 in the SEC, so I don't know what else there is to say. But they needed a win, I thought, tonight against Georgia. They get one. That is a big one. That will be a Q1 win when it's all said and done. Let's keep it going on the bubble winners from Wednesday. Let's switch gears. Let's go to the Big 12, okay? So the Big 12, the Baylor Bears. So Baylor, very interesting team. Listen, say what you want about Baylor. They really, 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 really challenged themselves in the out-of-conference, played at UConn. They played St. John's in Tennessee in back-to-back games in the Bahamas. They played Gonzaga on a neutral that was in Spokane. Problem is with them, 1, they have a Q3 loss, 2, 5-11 in quad 1. So the bottom line for Baylor, listen, they just could not afford a loss on Wednesday night. They survived. They beat Kansas State. By the way, Kansas State's season is over. I just saw a video of Coleman Hawkins crying in the locker room. I don't know what that's about. We'll monitor it. But 19-13 is where Baylor is right now. They've played a ton of Q1 games. I think they're probably on the right side of this thing, even if they were to lose the next game. I think if they were to beat Texas Tech on Thursday night, they're definitely in. I think even if they don't, I would assume at worst they're going to Dayton. They are just a team that has played so many big games. And they're almost like North Carolina, who we'll get into in a minute. I don't think we should be punishing teams that put together crazy non-conference schedules. They should be given the benefit of the doubt, but Baylor gets the win. By the way, they were also a team that beat Arkansas earlier in the year as well. So I just mentioned the North Carolina Tar Heels. They are next. Can we call it a huge win? I mean, Notre Dame's terrible. This ain't football. Marcus Freeman ain't walking through that door, okay? But at the same time, like, it's tough for me because North Carolina is a fascinating team. This is another one like Arkansas against South Carolina, like Baylor against Kansas State. If you lost this one, it was over. I do still think North Carolina has some work to do. Problem with their bracket, we talked about it in the ACC preview. Wake Forest on Thursday is just a Q2 game on a neutral. Wake Forest metrics aren't good. I can't explain everything that goes into the net. I just know that Wake Forest is not going to be a great win in the committee's eyes. And so it might come down to having to beat Duke in the quarterfinals, assuming that Duke gets there. Duke plays Georgia Tech on Thursday afternoon. Listen, I don't think it's fair. I've said I think North Carolina should be given the benefit of the doubt. They scheduled like crazy. I've used the stat of their 12 losses. 6 of them are to teams that could get number 1 seeds. 2 losses to Duke, 1 loss to Michigan State, 1 loss to Alabama, 1 loss to Auburn, 1 loss to Florida. I think if you leave them out, again, assuming nothing crazy happens, you're punishing a team for scheduling like crazy. If they had just stayed home from Maui and gotten 3 more wins against bad teams, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So I just bring it up. I do hope they get the benefit of the doubt, but you got to beat Wake Forest. There is 0 doubt in my mind on that. Got to get that victory. We'll see what happens. Staying in the ACC really quick, another game that went final late Wednesday. The SMU Mustangs beat Syracuse. Final score 73-53. By the way, fun fact, Syracuse, this is the 16-year anniversary of the 6 overtime game, Syracuse versus UConn. I was at that game. Amazing how quickly Syracuse has fallen, or how far Syracuse has fallen. They were, I think, the 12-13 seed in this ACC tournament. For SMU, this was about, if you lose this game, your season's effectively over. You still have a lot of work to do. SMU will advance and play Clemson, I believe, in the next round, maybe Louisville. You got to win that game. I mean, they don't have a single Q1 win. I think even if you win that game, there's still more work to do. They are the epitome of a team that just needs everybody on the bubble to lose. They got to win games. No bid stealers. They have a ton of work to do. SMU right now is on the fringes of the bubble. To me, we'll see if they can get the victory. I think that's all for winners. Let me triple check here. Do we have any other winners? No, I think we're on to the losers. Know who's a loser? I'll tell you what, I don't know how big of a loser. Vanderbilt to me is kind of sort of interesting. Listen, I put them into the field, about 4 games ago. And, this is why people are always hesitant to say somebody is a lock, because when you say somebody's a lock, what that means is that they could literally lose every single game the rest of the year and they are in the tournament field. So why do I bring it up? It is because we put Vandy in the field. We said they were a lock, and then they proceeded to lose their last 3 games, okay? So they lose to Arkansas at home. They lose to, Georgia on the road. Now they lose their opener to Texas in the SEC tournament. Right now, Vanderbilt is sitting overall on the season, I believe, at 20-12. Let me go ahead and double check that. They're sitting on the season, Vanderbilt at 20-12, 8-10 in the SEC. Listen, I'll be real. I think they've done enough, but this is not the way you want to go out. The one thing I'll say, listen, and we're going to talk about this in a minute with some of these other teams. The last 10 games used to be a metric that the committee used to kind of judge who was playing their best basketball. That is no longer the case. But I do think Vanderbilt losing their last 3 games, they have three Q2 losses, That's way more than most of the teams on the bubble. This feels like a team that's headed to Dayton to me. If I had to predict right now, I don't think Vandy's going to be out, but I would expect them to be in Dayton. We said all you got to do is win and you're in. Well, we thought they were in. They go 0-3 to end the regular season. I think there's going to be a little bit of a sweat till Selection Sunday. Speaking of losers, listen, I don't really know if they're a loser or not. They probably aren't, but it is at least worth mentioning Georgia. Georgia takes the loss to Oklahoma in a game that just went final. Listen, I've been critical of Mike White. This is not where I'm going to pile on Georgia. They won 4 straight to end the regular season. They beat Florida in a win that's going to be better than pretty much anybody has in college basketball all year. I think they're in. I do. But listen, again, like everybody else, you got to worry about bid stealers. You got to worry about teams that you don't expect to be in the NCAA tournament getting in. The good thing for Georgia, some really good wins. They beat St. John's in the out-of-conference. They beat Arkansas at Arkansas earlier in the year. As we mentioned, they beat Kentucky at home. So I think Georgia's in. To me, at the very least, they're on the fringes of the bubble. I think they're safe. You would have loved one more win, but they should be good. I think they're in the field. I don't think they're on the bubble, but it's at least worth mentioning in this segment. Really quickly, let's get to the rest of the losers outside of the SEC. Listen, you talk about the fringes of the bubble. Cincinnati. So Cincinnati is not good, was not good. Cincinnati gets blown out. They really didn't get blown out. They lost by 20. It was about a 10-point game for most of the second half. I was watching a big chunk of this. But Cincinnati was at best on the fringes of the bubble. They entered today at 18-14 overall. They did win their Big 12 tournament opener. But you look at Cincinnati, listen, bottom line is, we've talked about it. They basically played no one in the out-of-conference. 2-11 in quad one. By the way, this is like when people are like, oh, Arkansas is not in. It's like Arkansas has 6 Q1 wins. Cincinnati's 2-11, okay? So Cincinnati, they're done. They're not going to the NCAA tournament. What'll be interesting is really 2 things. One, we have this Crown tournament, which is like the new NIT, and I think they're going to push for a team like Cincinnati. 2, just putting it out there. Just keep your little eye on this. I think there's a possibility Wes Miller has coached his last game at Cincinnati. I believe this is year 4, no NCAA tournament bids. I'm just here to tell you there'd be some people that might be interested in that job if it opened. Mick Cronin might be running out of patience at UCLA. Could he go back to Cincinnati? By the way, you remember who Mick Cronin replaced? Andy Kennedy. Andy Kennedy might try to get that job as well. I think there's a possibility it was Wes Miller's last game. Staying in the Big 12, West Virginia is kind of an interesting one. I think West Virginia is probably in 19-13, 10-10, 10 wins in the Big 12. Some really good wins, by the way. At Kansas was one of them. You go through, they swept Cincinnati, a team that we just talked about, and really took care of business mostly on their home court. Other thing, too, it's worth noting, in the Bahamas, took care of business against Gonzaga and Arizona. They're probably in, but you would have liked to win one more game. And I think the big thing is you lose to Colorado. I believe, I could be wrong, I believe that's a Q3 loss. It's on a neutral. And why this is a bad loss. So it was interesting. I was listening to somebody break down UConn's, how high could UConn kind of get on the seed lines and stuff. And one of the things people said about UConn was that they have a Q3 loss to Colorado on a neutral that's kind of weighing it down. Remember, they lost to Colorado in the Bahamas. So if it's a bad loss for UConn and it's going to hurt their seeding, you would think it would hurt West Virginia as well. I think West Virginia's in. I haven't put pen to paper. They're going to sweat till Selection Sunday, but they're in. I think's officially out. the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State's done. Cook them. They're done. Get ready for spring football. Ryan Day can do no wrong. Who cares? It's time to talk about the quarterback battle, baby. Listen, with Ohio State, also actually, let me even backtrack on Ohio State. They lose to Iowa in the Big Ten tournament. Iowa may have just cost the Big Ten 2 bids. Okay. By the way, I was texting a buddy of mine who coaches at a team on the bubble. And I said to him, I said, you got to send a gift basket over to the Iowa Hawkeyes, because remember, they beat Nebraska on Sunday. That knocked Nebraska out of the Big Ten tournament, which of course knocked them off the bubble. And then after that, they beat Ohio State. Listen, I think Ohio State's done. Ohio State has a lot of good out-of-conference wins, but you are now talking about a Buckeyes team that with this loss is now 17 and 15 overall. I just don't know how you can put a 17 and 15 team into the NCAA tournament, even from a power conference, even with nice wins like Kentucky on a neutral, like Texas on a neutral. I just don't know how 17 and 15 can get the job done. I think they absolutely could not lose this game. I thought they had to win at least one more to feel safe, but they lose. They are out. I believe they are officially out of the tournament picture as well. I think that's it for the bubble. Here's the thing. A lot more bubble to get to tomorrow. So this is what's great about Champ Week. North Carolina still got to beat Wake Forest. Texas still has to beat Texas A&M. Some of these bubble teams in the Mountain West, the Colorado States, the Boise States, the San Diego State teams, they all start play on Thursday. So that was the bubble. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. When we come back, 2 interesting notes on the coaching carousel. One, an interesting development in the future of Will Wade. What's going to happen there? Also, Indiana. Is Indiana about to screw up this coaching search? I swear, if Indiana's, I've given so much positive buzz to the Indiana Hoosiers. If they screw up this coaching search, I'm out on Indiana forever. We're going to discuss it all. Quick break. Be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute. But before we do, many of you ask me all the time, Torres, what can I do to help support the show? You give me hours and hours and hours of content every single week. What can I do to help you? Well, I'll tell you what. Do me a quick favor. Check out the Aaron Torres Media merchandise store for all of your team-specific shirts, hats, and more. All available at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. A lot of you wondering, Torres, what can I get in that merch store? Well, first of all, we got our brand new Hope and Pope Kentucky basketball t-shirts. That's right. Mark Pope has arrived. He is here to save the day. Get your Hope and Pope t-shirts there. Also, Arkansas fans, the Big Pig Invasion is here. You can get your tees there. Basketball School Alabama shirts. Mora Hurley 2024 UConn shirts for your tailgates at Rentschler Field, your games at the XL Center or Gamble. And oh, by the way, your Mike effing Woodson gear for Indiana. If you love football, we got you covered too. We got more Dion shirts and hats than we even know what to do with. The freeze warning has hit the plains. Auburn fans, grab your freeze warning tees now. And of course, our new era, new rules shirt applies to Nebraska football and its incredible fan base. We have more coming for the fall, plenty in stock right now. So make sure to check out the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. And you can always hit me up with any questions. Aaron Torres Podcast Questions @gmail.com. All right, everybody. Hi, back. Good to be back. So this is the final segment of the show. Before we get to the final segment, though, 2 very interesting developments on the coaching carousel. You know what time it is? Do you know what time it is, people? It is time to thank our friends. It is time to thank our partners. It is time to thank Caulli Puffs and CaulliPuffs.com. Okay, so I've told you about Caulli Puffs all March Madness long. By the way, I had a couple more people reach out to me, tell me that they tried them and they loved them. If you have not tried Caulli Puffs yet, shame on you. Bottom line is it's March. You're going to be sitting on the couch all March long. You're going to be watching all sorts of games. You need a snack that is both healthy but delicious. My friends, my people, that's where Caulli Puffs and CaulliPuffs.com come in, okay? So Caulli Puffs, baked not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But the best part is they taste freaking delicious. Great story, family-owned company. Joey, the founder of Caulli Puffs, family guy, sports fan, sitting on the couch one day saying, I need something that is healthy but delicious as well, something healthy for me, something healthy for my kids. So he came up with Caulli Puffs. Again, baked not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But the best part is They taste freaking delicious, people. Don't take my word for it at this point. It's what you need to do. You need to try it out for yourself. For more information, visit caulipuffs.com. That's CAULIPUFFS.com, caulipuffs.com. Also, and get them on Amazon.com, okay? So search Amazon.com, search Collie Puffs. You'll find them there. Throw a couple in your cart. You're going to love them. Tell them Torres sent you. Appreciate Collie Puffs and their support. All right. Take a swig of water here. Then we'll get to 2 quick coaching carousel notes. And by the way, producer Matt, if we have any good questions, you can go ahead and flag them. But let me take a swig of water. Then we're going to do carousel. There's my water. All right, carousel. Deep breath. Carousel. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. And I want to get into the carousel. Listen, the next 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, it is going to be insanity, okay? There's a bunch of jobs that have not opened yet that are going to open once these conference tournament ends. There's a bunch of jobs that are open that are going to be filled. And of course, once guys start leaving jobs, it's going to open up other jobs. So this couple weeks is just going to be bananas. It's not just going to be the NCAA tournament. One thing about us, we cover things, all of it. So we'll cover the portal. We'll cover whatever high school news there is. It's not just the NCAA tournament, okay? But I bring it up because the coaching carousel is really about to spin. And I think we got a very interesting development on a guy that is certainly going to have what I believe is his choice of jobs. And that's friend of the Aaron Torres pod, Will Wade, okay? So Will Wade, first of all, let's go ahead and give Will Wade a little bit of credit. Will Wade, of course, the McNeese Cowboys on Tuesday, they went ahead and won the Southland Conference Championship for a second straight year. Finished the regular season 19-1. Conference tournament is on their home court, but you just never know in March. And listen, any team that is an overwhelming favorite that finds a way to win, I give them so much credit. So McNeese is going to the NCAA tournament for a second straight year. And what Will Wade has done at McNeese is just incredible. I was thinking about this. I don't think any guy in my lifetime covering college sports has rehabbed his image more than Will Wade over the last couple of years. This was a guy 3-4 years ago. Oh, he's at LSU. He only won because he was cheating. He's only won because of this, because of that. First of all, half the stuff that you think you know isn't even true. But 2, on top of it, this guy has proven that he can absolutely coach ball, okay? Finished this year, not finished, but, enter the NCAA tournament 27-6 this year after going 30-4 last year. Now, I know there was a couple games he was suspended, so he doesn't technically get all the credit for all the wins. But basically, we were talking about a guy that has gone 57-10 over the last 2 seasons, 40-2 in league play. I don't care how good of a recruiter you are, how much of an advantage you have over the competition. 40-2 in league play is just bananas, okay? And I think what he's shown is you could say you could say he's Will Wade, whatever, but he went to McNeese and put together a team that was just a monster. And you look at that roster, Brandon Murray played for him at LSU, also played at Ole Miss and Georgetown. That's a high major guy. One of their starters played at Arizona State. One of their starters played at Syracuse. So he is recruiting his butt off at McNeese. And like I said, I just think he has completely changed his image. I think people are fired up. By the way, a buddy of mine is like, oh, he cheated. Listen, if you're still worried about people that may or may have not or were accused of paying players back in the day, first of all, I'm sorry. Everybody did it, okay? Listen, let's call a spade a spade. Bill Self got caught in that FBI stuff. Everybody did it. If there's a weird recruiting story from your childhood, I guarantee you somebody was getting something. I told my buddy, I was like, listen, if you're still caught up on people paying players in a different era, that's like being mad that your wife had a boyfriend before she met you, okay? Whatever happened in the past, it's the present now. Things have changed. Who cares? Everybody's paying players. And the guy is proving that in an era where everybody is paying players, he can win. By the way, what'd you think of that girlfriend analogy? Yeah, your wife used to have a boyfriend before you. It's okay. Get over it. Will Wade may have been accused of paying a couple guys. Who cares? Everybody was. He just got caught on wiretap. Anyway, let's get to the development from the day, though, because Will Wade is going to be a hot commodity in this coaching cycle. I believe he's probably going to be on the move. I'm not forcing him out. If we have McNeese fans watching, I apologize. I'm not rushing him to the next school, but he is going to have options. And I said on Sunday's show, I think he should be the number 1 call at NC State. NC State is a school that has made Final Fours as recently as last year, by the way. He is a guy that, NC State is a place that has won national championships. But I think more than that, in this ACC, he could go in there right away, and if the NIL is in order, if the things are in order, if that's in order, he would win right away there. And I think beyond just winning right away there, he's the guy that Duke doesn't want to get the job. He's the dude that North Carolina doesn't want to get that job right now. I mean, think about Hubert Davis. I like Hubert, but this dude's trying to fight for his life. Now Will Wade shows up with, in the ACC. I think that would be a worst case scenario for North Carolina. And as much as it could be a worst case scenario for Duke, it would be. I think Duke's going to be fine, obviously. I think it'd just be a bad scenario for the ACC as well, where all these schools are trying to climb the ladder. NC State would be a thorn in everybody's side if he got that job. Well, here's the concern. Is he going to get the job? Because we got a tweet on Wednesday that caught my attention. It comes from Brad Crawford from 24/7 Sports. Now, I'll be real. To quote Shaq, Brad, I'm not really familiar with your game. Producer Matt, maybe you can get in my ear and let me know. I think Brad Crawford's more of a college football guy. I believe he's based out of South Carolina, so he's got ties to the Carolinas. But he put out a tweet, and producer Matt did confirm, way more of a football guy. He said, Will Wade is holding out for a bigger job. He will not be NC State's next basketball coach. And that caught the attention of everybody. It caught the attention of NC State fans. It caught the attention of some other schools. And I want to go ahead and break it down because I think Will Wade is the most interesting man on this coaching carousel. I think he could get NC State if he wants it. And I think it's interesting to think about what this tweet means. Is he definitively out? Is he not out? Why did this tweet go out now? All of that good stuff. So let me start by saying this. Don't know Brad Crawford. Sure, he's a good guy. And I'm not saying that he's inaccurate or he's lying or he's misleading. To me, that tweet does not feel accurate, though. Okay, so again, he said Will Wade is holding out for a better job. Well, a couple things immediately come to mind there. One, I should even backtrack. Listen, I spent all year doing homework for this time. Who's going to be interested in what jobs, this, that, the other thing. And what I would say about it is this. I've been told for 18 months, Will Wade wasn't really trying to leave McNeese at this time last year. Basically, he felt like, hey, McNeese gave me a shot when nobody else would. I owe it to them to do at least 2 seasons, help elevate that program, help elevate that school. Specifically, I'm not really in a rush out last year. Now, I think if certain things had gone a certain way, maybe he would have left. If Chris Beard had got Arkansas, maybe Will Wade would have taken Ole Miss. But he was not in a rush to leave. But he kind of circled this year as like, okay, this is the year that I'm going to start looking for jobs. So the idea that he's already eliminating good jobs, maybe not a great job, but a good job, and saying, I'm not interested, I just don't believe that. I don't believe he's going to be at McNeese for like the next 3, 4, 5 years. And so when Brad Crawford says he's holding out for a bigger job, well, right now there's only one bigger job that's available, and that's the Indiana Hoosiers. And we're going to get to Indiana in a minute. And I will tell you that there is increasing buzz in the Indiana community that Will Wade could be interested. But for that tweet to be true, and I'm not calling the guy a liar. I'm just kind of talking about it from a basketball perspective. For that tweet to be true, he's holding out for a bigger job. Well, there's only one job that's open that's bigger than NC State. That's Indiana. And I don't think he would completely dismiss NC State unless he was 100% positive that he was getting Indiana. And I'll be real right now. I don't think it's 100% positive. I don't even think Indiana 100% has a candidate. We're going to get to them in a minute because they might have a disaster of a coaching search coming up here in a minute. Okay. So I don't think that it's 100% done. So if it's not 100% done, why are you eliminating NC State? Now, I will say the interesting caveat here is that there are certainly other bigger jobs that could open, but the only one that I feel is certainly going to open is Texas. Texas is obviously, on the bubble. There's talk that even if they make the tournament, Rodney Terry is out. And I will say, Texas to me, listen, there's people in the industry that think Texas is like a top 5 job in college basketball. Yeah, Kentucky has more history. Yeah, Duke has more history. Yeah, Kansas has more history. Texas in an NIL world, they lack nothing. Plenty of money, plenty of resources. I know we're going to rev share, but we all know that NIL is still going to be a factor and you're going to need to raise money. And Texas basically has an unlimited supply of it. So in theory, could he be waiting for Texas? Yeah, but it's not open. And I'll be real, I don't know that he would be their first choice. Not because he's not a good candidate, but because of the fact that they're going to have a lot of options. Like there are first of all, there's all sorts of names. Sean Miller's been linked to it. There's even reports that they're like trying to get sitting NBA head coaches, basically saying to NBA head coaches, listen, This is NBA junior. We're paying players. We'll have a GM set up for you. All you got to do is coach. And so I don't believe this notion that he's just like holding out for some better job. Now, is it possible? I mean, it's certainly possible, but I don't know that he's eliminated anything. I don't believe he's eliminated anything because, one, again, what job is open that's better than NC State? Only Indiana. I don't believe Indiana is at the finish line of their search. Two, I would also say is that I just, what if nothing else opens? Like, what if Rodney Terry does it again? What if he goes on a run? I mean, what if he did it a few years ago, right? What if he wins the SEC tournament, goes to the Sweet 16? All of a sudden, that job might not open. So, like, this idea that he's holding out for another job, I don't necessarily buy it. Now, what I could see is a few things. One, I could certainly see, hey, Rodney Terry loses in the SEC tournament on Thursday. That job opens. Maybe by this time next week, Will Wade's the next Texas head coach. But again, I don't think he's the top of Texas's priority list. So to me, I think it's okay to wait for it, but I don't think it's a guarantee that you're even going to be a candidate, let alone get it. What I actually think about this report, I'll tell you just my personal opinion. This is my twist. If you're an NC State fan, you're going to want to pay attention because I think it could be good news. I think it could be one of two things. It could be good or bad news, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. One, in theory, it could be the AD saying, hey, we're not pursuing him. If the AD is not pursuing him, then the AD is an idiot, and the AD will probably get fired sooner rather than later because that's the guy that the fan base wants, and that's the only guy I believe that guarantees that you're going to win pretty quickly if you're NC State. What I do think could be happening, is it possible that there's something that Will Wade is interested in NC State, but there's something that he would want from them that he is not getting or he does not think he is going to get there? Is it NIL money? Is it NIL money? Is it facilities? Is it resources to build a coaching staff the way that he wants to build a coaching staff? I don't know what it would necessarily be, but I certainly think that Wade's camp could leak like, hey, man, we're not really candidates there because they feel like, hey, we're not going to go there if they're not going to give us what we need. So I think it's a little bit early, I guess, to say is that I don't think that there's anything set in stone with his future. I certainly think he could be interested in Indiana. I think Indiana could be interested in him, but I think we have a long way to go. And by the way, I'll just put it out there. No disrespect to the reporter, but I do not believe that Will Wade is 100% not a candidate. And by the way, maybe this was put out by Will Wade's agent to tell NC State, kick it in gear. Why haven't you reached out to us? We want this job. Hurry the F up. I don't know, but I don't believe that he is absolutely not a candidate. All right. Speaking of Indiana, let's go ahead and switch gears. We got ourselves a very interesting development, and it's not a good one if you're the Indiana Hoosiers. Okay, so I have been a defender of the Indiana Hoosiers and the Indiana basketball team. I have said I believe this is a good job. I believe this is a very good job in the NIL era. And I said I think they're going to get a good head coach for this coaching job. So I've been a defender. I've been a believer. I believe, in my opinion, that they're going to get somebody good. But what I will say is a lot of the candidates that they want are starting to kind of, say no. Brad Stevens, thanks but no thanks. Dusty May at Michigan signs an extension. I thought there was a moment in time where maybe TJ Otzelberger, because his buyout had dropped, could be a factor. I don't think he is going to be a factor. And so I bring it up because they're starting to run out of candidates, although I will say, Indiana fans, I believe this in my heart, Chris Beard wants that job. And for whatever reason, Indiana doesn't seem to be interested. And I know what the reason is, his past. I personally think it's crazy. If you're an Indiana fan that just says, I have no interest in Chris Beard as my head coach, that's fine. That's your prerogative. I think winning heals a lot. And that is a guy that would come to Indiana, win right away. He's got the Bob Knight ties. It just makes too much sense to me. But right now, it doesn't feel like they're pursuing Chris Beard. I have heard that. I saw Jeff Goodman put it out there. And so now the question becomes, well, who's left? Well, that's the problem, okay? Because speaking of Jeff Goodman, he was on the Field of 68 on, I guess it would have been Tuesday night, and they were talking about the Indiana coaching job. They had a bunch of guys on set, including Stanford Steve, which is kind of crazy, but that's another conversation for another day. But I bring it up because they asked Jeff Goodman who could be candidates. He gave two names, one very inspiring, one not so much. Producer Matt, play the sound.
What's the list? It's dwindling, Steve.
So
So here's what it is.
I got a name if it's a possibility.
Okay. All right. You throw it out. TJ Otzelberger's out. I don't think they want Mick Cronin. I don't think they want Buzz Williams. Scott Drew, no, not in the mix. We know Brad Stevens is out. Dusty May's out. Greg McDermott was down the list to start out because he's 60 years old. I think the two names to watch, probably, unless McDermott moves back up, are Brad Brunell and Ben McCullum. I think those are the two guys that it's going to end up being one of those two.
Brad Brownell and Ben McCullum. Those are the two guys that I think it's going to be. Well, I got a lot of thoughts on that. One, I like one candidate that I don't think would necessarily take the job. One, I hate another candidate, and I think there would be a revolt in the fan base if it happened. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. First of all, Ben McCullum, he'd be a home run. Okay, I think everybody knows the backstory, but he, of course, was a D2 coaching legend. Hard to be a legend at like 42 years old, but he won 4 national championships at Northwest Missouri. The guy's unbelievable. He's like 42 years old. He won 4 national championships at the D2 level. Okay. And so I bring it up because he comes down to D1 and immediately Drake goes 28-4 this year, wins the Missouri Valley, and is going to the NCAA tournament. Listen, I'm not a bracketologist, but probably as a 7 seed, probably as a 6 seed, whatever it is. He's unbelievable. And so if Indiana can get him, yeah, you'd win the press conference. He's a stud. Like, I think if you could get him, that's great. There's 2 problems with him. One, the obvious one, is that he took his sweet time leaving Northwest Missouri. And so to me, he seems to be a very strategic guy. He doesn't seem to be a guy that's going to jump every year over year over year to climb the coaching ladder. He just seems like a guy that, be where your feet are. Don't, what's the old saying? Sorry, it's almost 1 a.m. Eastern right now. Forgive me. What is it? Don't try to get happier than happy. And so he almost didn't leave the D2 level. Like, he said that he really tossed and turned about leaving for Drake. And if it wasn't the opportunity to play in a Division I NCAA tournament, he wouldn't have left. And so if he wasn't in a rush to leave the D2 level, is he going to leave Drake after 1 year? And then beyond that, even if he does, there's a couple things. One, he doesn't seem like a guy that cares about the spotlight, doesn't want the spotlight. I don't know if that's a good fit for Indiana. And I'll take it a step further. I've said this before on the show. I'll say it again. I believe that the Iowa job is going to open after the season. Fran McCaffrey's getting older, 2 bad years. There's some stuff going on in his family life that you can Google if you're not familiar with it. I think he's done. Well, Ben McCollum is from Iowa. Ben McCollum actually waited for the Drake job because he wanted to go back to his home state, or at least that was one of the appeals. So if the Iowa job opens, I think he's probably more inclined to take that one. I'll take it a step further. Virginia officially let go of their interim head coach on whatever today is, Wednesday, after they lost in the ACC tournament. You don't think Ben McCollum kind of feels more Virginia? He's kind of the new age Tony Bennett. I think that's a spot that makes much more sense for Ben McCollum than Indiana does. And by the way, I would like Indiana because I'm a guy that wants the spotlight on me. I'm a little arrogant like that, whatever. But I just bring it up because not all these guys want that. And I think Iowa is a spot that actually makes a lot more sense. Virginia is whatever. I just don't know if he would take Indiana, even if he's offered. By the way, Indiana fans, I hope I'm wrong. I'm just telling you. Well, here's the issue. If it's not him, Goodman feels pretty good that it's going to be Brad Brownell, okay? So Brad Brownell is the Clemson coach. Clemson is certainly playing well this year, been in the top 25 all year. And he's from the state of Indiana. Don't know that I love the idea of him being the head coach, but here's the concern. Brad Brownell was actually asked about the Indiana job, or at least the opportunity to take other jobs during the ACC pre-tournament teleconference on Tuesday or Wednesday. He didn't really deny that he might be interested if something came along. Producer Matt, play the sound.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about potential jobs. I have a great job, and I'm 100% focused on this team and what we've got ahead of us, and trying to do everything I can to help us continue to win the next game.
But you can't avoid it in this day and age where anyone can throw any name out there.
Yeah.
It's got to be, is there a weird factor there?
No, you're grateful that, that you're doing good things, right? that's what's going to happen if you're doing the right things and you're winning enough games. So, I've never been a self-promoter, and that's partly because how much I really like Clemson. I mean, obviously I sent both daughters here and I've been here 15 years. So I think this place is really a special place.
So Brad Brownell, not exactly sounding as though he would say no if he was offered that job. Let me say this. I don't like him as a fit. First of all, let me get into the resume, but then I want to get into the potential ramifications of that. First of all, I know Clemson's playing well. I think I said they made the Sweet 16 last year. They actually made the Elite Eight. They're 26-5 this year, okay? Here's the issue. This is year 15 for Brad Brownell. Year 15 for Brad Brownell at Clemson. This will be his 5th NCAA tournament. Now, Clemson, that's not bad. Here's the issue. Made a tournament in year 1. Didn't go again until 2018. Ironically, I was at that NCAA tournament. The regional was in San Diego. Producer Matt's Auburn Tigers were there as well, but that's another conversation for another day. Bring it up. Didn't make a tournament from 2011 to 2018. If he had not made the tournament that year, he probably would have gotten fired. Then proceeded to go from 2018 to last season without winning an NCAA tournament game. And so this is a guy that basically has lived the last decade on the hot seat. Like, it's a running joke in college basketball circles. Like, nobody loves being on the hot seat more than Brad Brownell, okay? So to me, you're basically taking a guy that in 15 years, it took 15 years for him to figure out how to be a really good power conference head coach. And it just so happens to coincide with the 2 worst years in ACC history, okay? And so to me, if you hire this guy, this is my prediction, producer Matt, this will be your 2-minute clip. You try to hire Brad Brownell, I believe we're going to have a Schiano Sunday, Indiana style, okay? So for people who don't know, Schiano Sunday, that's, of course, the infamous day where Tennessee tried to hire Greg Schiano as its head football coach, and the Tennessee fan base basically revolted and said, no, we're not taking this. More recently, Mark Stoops, he was hired to Texas A&M. He'll tell you he never took the job. He never took the job, but he was hired. It was done. And then they saw how angry the fan base was about that hire, refused to hire him. And so to me, you try to hire Brad Brownell, we're going to have Schiano Sunday Part 2. We're going to have, Tuesdays with Brad. I don't know, whatever. It's going to be a disaster. It's really bad. And I'll just be honest. 2 things. One, Indiana, just go hire Chris Beard. What are we doing? Wins everywhere. Got a checkered background. We've already talked about it. Ole Miss did all the work for you. They hired him. They were the ones that took all the bad headlines. Go hire him. He wins everywhere. 2, I would also say you hire Brad Brownell, it's going to be a disaster. And I'm going to stop defending you. Not that anybody at Indiana cares about me, but it's like, I've been defending this job. It's a good job in this era. People want it. You hire Brad Brownell, I'm out. We're all out. We're never talking about Indiana again on this show. You have my guarantee. What a disaster that would be. By the way, for all your updates on all things of the Indiana coaching search, make sure to follow our Indiana page, Torres on Indiana. Torres on Indiana. All right, I'll tell you what. It is almost 1 a.m. Eastern time. It's time for me to get out of here. By the way, amazing live crowd. Over 100 people still going strong here at 1 a.m. Eastern. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Really do appreciate everybody's support. If you're not subscribed, by the way, producer Matt, I was kind of browse the chat. There's no amazing questions, right? Just give me a thumbs up if there's, I think, Derby, try those cauli puffs. Yes, you need to try those cauli puffs. They're really good. I'm just going to tell you, baked, not fried, healthy, but delicious. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Great company, family-owned company. You're supporting small businesses. You're supporting Torres. Check them out. CauliPuffs.com. Also, Amazon.com as well. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate everybody's support. Somebody said Brad Brownell from Clemson. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, people. Do that. See what happens the day that you try to put that press release out. It'll be a train wreck. Time for me to go. Appreciate everybody's support. We'll be back soon. Shout out to Torrin Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick. You F-head. Unblock me, bro. I'll be back. I'll tell you what. I don't know when I'll be back. I'm doing Fox Sports Radio on Thursday and Friday nights. I'm going to try to do some sort of show, maybe first thing Friday morning. We'll see. TBA. But we'll certainly be back on Selection Sunday. Appreciate